The best part about owning the patent wasn't the money, though that seven-figure check didn't hurt. It wasn't even watching TechFlow's stock tank 23% in 3 days. No, the best part was sitting in that Austin conference room listening to Cameron Hayes tell me I was fired, while my phone buzzed with a text that read, "Patent approved, exclusive rights confirmed, you own everything." Look, I'm Nathan Pierce, 52 years old, and I've been in tech long enough to know how this game works. After 18 years at TechFlow Systems, I could smell a setup from a mile away. "Nathan, we're restructuring your position," Cameron announced, trying to sound all professional. The guy's 36, thinks a hoodie and sneakers make him Steve Jobs. He sat across from me with Sarah from HR, both wearing those fake sad faces they probably practiced in the mirror. "The company is moving in a new direction," Sarah chimed in, sliding that familiar manila folder my way. Inside would be the standard goodbye package, 2 weeks pay for every year, health coverage for 90 days, and some career counseling nonsense I'd never touch. Here's what they didn't know. 3 weeks ago, I'd accidentally gotten copied on an email thread between Cameron and his 29-year-old son, Austin, who somehow landed VP of Operations despite never writing a line of code in his life. The subject line was Q3 cost reduction. Legacy personnel. Legacy personnel. That's corporate speak for expensive old guys we want gone. The email laid out their whole plan. Phase out the senior engineers, bring in fresh college grads at half the salary, and position the company for their big IPO dreams. My name was right at the top of the list, along with 6 other guys who'd built this place from nothing. "I completely understand," I told them, keeping my voice steady. "These decisions are never easy. You should have seen their faces relax. They were expecting tears, maybe some begging. After all, what's a 52-year-old engineer going to do in Austin's startup scene where gray hair is basically a scarlet letter? What they really didn't know was that for the past 5 months, I'd been working nights and weekends on something that would change everything. See, TechFlow's big moneymaker was CryptoSafe, our AI trading algorithm that institutional investors used to manage crypto portfolios. The thing was, I'd created that algorithm. Every line of code, every mathematical model, every breakthrough that made it work. But here's where it gets interesting. Back in January, I'd asked our legal team about the patent status. "Oh, we'll handle that," they said. "Standard company IP." Except when I dug deeper, I found something beautiful. They'd never actually filed the patent. Some paperwork got lost, some deadlines missed. Typical corporate incompetence. So I did what any smart engineer would do. I went home, fired up my personal setup, and started improving the algorithm, not on company time, not with company resources, not even in the same building. My basement, my computers, my electricity bill. The improvements were substantial. 47% better accuracy in market predictions, 60% faster processing times, and a risk assessment feature that could have prevented every major crypto crash of the last 2 years. I documented everything, timestamps, development logs, even photos of my setup. Then I filed for the patent myself. "We'd like you to clean out your desk by Friday," Cameron continued, getting braver now that I wasn't fighting back. "Keycard, laptop, phone, you know the drill. Your team gets notified this afternoon." My team. 7 of the best engineers I'd ever worked with, guys who'd followed me through 3 different companies because they trusted my judgment. The same guys who'd helped me debug the original algorithm during those crazy 80-hour weeks when we were racing to beat the competition. "Of course," I said, standing up. "Anything else?" Cameron and Sarah exchanged one of those looks that said, "Wow, that was easier than expected." Cameron recovered first. "Thanks for keeping this professional, Nathan. I know these transitions are tough." Transitions. Like I was moving to a different department instead of getting tossed out after nearly 2 decades. I walked back to my office past the glass conference room where Cameron's executive team was huddled around another PowerPoint presentation. This one was titled IPO Roadmap Q4. Same Cameron who'd taken credit for my algorithm at the FinTech Innovation Summit last year, telling everyone how his team had revolutionized crypto trading. Back in my office, I pulled out my personal phone and sent a text. "It's happening. Friday's my last day." The response came back in seconds. "Perfect. Contracts ready. Dinner tonight." I smiled, looking at my calendar. Wednesday afternoon. By Friday evening, I'd be done with TechFlow forever. By Monday morning, things would get very interesting. That evening, I drove out to the Capitol Club, this upscale place on the north side where you're not likely to bump into anyone from the Austin tech scene. Patricia Lawson was already waiting in a private dining room, the kind with thick walls and no windows. As CEO of Apex Financial Technologies up in Denver, Patricia understood the value of keeping certain conversations quiet. "They actually went through with it," she said after we'd ordered. She was shaking her head like she couldn't quite believe it. "I mean, I figured they might, but to fire the guy who built their entire platform—" "Cameron's never understood what I actually do," I replied, taking a sip of my bourbon. "He sees the user interface, the marketing demos, the revenue reports, but the core AI, that's just technical stuff to him." The irony was perfect, really. Back in January, when I'd started digging into the patent situation, I'd also discovered a strategy memo in Cameron's files. The plan was to claim my algorithm as company-developed technology without any specific inventor attribution, push out the expensive senior staff, secure the IP on the cheap, then ride it to IPO glory. "All the paperwork's finalized," Patricia said, sliding a leather folder across the table. "Soon as you sign, Apex gets exclusive licensing rights to your enhanced algorithm. The press release goes out Monday at 7 a.m., announcing you as our new Chief Technology Officer." I flipped through the contract. 7-figure signing bonus, equity package, royalties on every product using my technology. But more than the money, it was about respect, about working somewhere that valued experience over hype. "What do you think Cameron's going to look like when he realizes what happened?" Patricia asked, and I could see she was enjoying this almost as much as I was. "Honestly, I'm more worried about my team," I admitted. "Those guys don't deserve to get caught in the crossfire." "Already handled," Patricia said. "We've got positions for all 7 if they want them. Senior roles, 35% pay bumps, full relocation packages." I signed the final page and closed the folder. In one move, I'd secured my future, protected my guys, and made sure my work would finally get the recognition it deserved. "To new beginnings," Patricia said, raising her glass. "And to showing these startup kids how the game really works," I replied. The algorithm that changed everything. Part 2. Thursday and Friday were like watching a slow-motion car wreck, except I was the one who'd cut the brake lines. I went through all the motions, exit interviews, knowledge transfers, the whole corporate goodbye dance. But the entire time I'm thinking about Monday morning and how Cameron's world was about to implode. Sarah from HR called me in for the standard checkout meeting. "You know the drill. Return your badge, sign the non-compete, promise you won't steal company secrets." The funny thing is, she kept emphasizing that last part. "You understand that any intellectual property developed during your employment remains TechFlow's property," she said, pushing yet another form across the table. "Absolutely," I replied. "Anything developed within the scope of my employment, using company resources, during company time." I made sure to emphasize those 3 qualifiers, but Sarah was too busy checking her boxes to catch the hint. "And you confirm you have no copies of proprietary company information?" "I've taken nothing that belongs to TechFlow," I said, which was completely true. The enhanced algorithm was mine, developed on my own time with my own equipment. The original version they could keep. It was about to become worthless anyway. Meanwhile, I'm getting texts from my team all day. Rodriguez, my lead developer, kept asking what was really going on. "This doesn't make sense, Nathan. They're talking about reassigning all your projects to Austin. The guy barely knows Python from JavaScript." That's when I knew Cameron's plan was even dumber than I'd thought. Austin Hayes, 29 years old, MBA from some fancy school where they apparently don't teach you that coding experience actually matters. The kid had been hired as VP of Strategic Operations, which is corporate speak for my dad's the CEO, so I get a made-up title. I'd watched Austin in meetings for the past 2 years. He'd throw around buzzwords like synergy and disruption while the actual engineers tried not to laugh. Now they were putting him in charge of the team that built their flagship product. It was like watching someone hand the keys to a Formula One car to a guy who'd only driven bumper cars. Friday afternoon, Cameron made his rounds to say goodbye. He stopped by my office while I was packing up 18 years of my professional life into cardboard boxes. "Just wanted to make sure we're all good here," he said, trying to sound casual but watching my every move like I might steal a stapler. We're perfect, I told him, wrapping up the innovation award I'd gotten for creating the algorithm that made his company profitable. Business is business, right? Something in my tone made him pause. For just a second, I saw uncertainty cross his face, like maybe he was starting to realize he didn't actually understand what I did all day. But then his ego kicked back in. What could a washed-up 52-year-old possibly do to hurt the great Cameron Hayes? Will you be taking some time off? He asked. Actually, I've got something lined up already. Start Monday. That surprised him. Really? That was fast. Anything interesting? I smiled, taping up the last box. Oh yeah. Leadership role at a company that actually values experience. Should be very interesting. As I walked out of TechFlow's headquarters for the last time, I took one final look at the building where I'd spent the best years of my career. Up on the top floor, I could see the executive conference room lit up for another late meeting, probably planning how to spin my departure to the investors or figuring out how to manage my projects without anyone who actually understood how they worked. They had no idea that in 72 hours, that same conference room would be hosting an emergency damage control session instead. Saturday, I spent the day setting up my home office for the transition. Patricia had arranged for secure VPN access to Apex's systems, and I wanted to hit the ground running Monday morning. I also took some time to document the technical handoff details for my team, not because TechFlow deserved it, but because the guys who'd worked with me for years shouldn't suffer for management's stupidity. Sunday evening, my phone started buzzing with industry contacts asking if the rumors were true. Word travels fast in the tech world, and apparently someone had leaked that a major announcement was coming Monday morning involving TechFlow's core technology. I didn't confirm or deny anything, just told everyone they'd have to wait and see. Monday morning, I was up at 5 a.m., dressed in my best Navy suit, the one I'd bought specifically for this moment. The Apex car service picked me up at 7:15 for the drive to Denver. As we pulled out of my driveway, my phone lit up with the first industry alert. Breaking, Apex Financial acquires exclusive rights to revolutionary AI algorithm. By the time I walked into Apex's headquarters at 9 a.m., the tech world was going crazy. The press release had been perfect, detailed my background, emphasized my role as sole inventor of the patented technology, and made it crystal clear that any company currently using similar algorithms would need to negotiate licensing agreements with Apex immediately. Patricia met me at the elevator with a huge grin. "Your phone's been ringing non-stop," she said. 3 different industry publications want interviews, and our stock's up 22% since opening bell. What about TechFlow? I asked. Down 18% and falling. Trading's been suspended twice already for volatility. As we walked to my new corner office, actual windows, actual respect, my personal phone started buzzing. Text from Rodriguez. "Holy hell, Nathan. Complete chaos here. Cameron's locked in the conference room with the lawyers. What did you do?" I typed back. "Check your email. All 7 of you have offers waiting. Better titles, better pay, better company." The response was immediate. "Are you serious? We can all come to Denver?" Dead serious. Patricia's HR team is standing by to discuss relocation packages. 3 minutes later, I'm in. When do we start? By 9:30 a.m., I had confirmation from all 7 guys. My entire team was jumping ship, taking 18 years of institutional knowledge with them. Cameron wasn't just losing his core technology, he was losing everyone who understood how to maintain it. At 10:15, my phone rang with a call from Cameron himself. I let it go to voicemail, then listened to the message with Patricia. You could hear the panic in his voice. "Nathan, there seems to be some kind of misunderstanding about the patent situation. Please call me immediately so we can work this out." I forwarded the voicemail to Apex's legal team with a note. "Please handle all communications with TechFlow moving forward. Standard licensing inquiries only." The rest of Monday was a blur of meetings, interviews, and strategic planning sessions. Every few hours, Rodriguez would text me updates from Ground Zero, board members showing up unannounced. Then, "Austin just got escorted out by security." Then, emergency all-hands meeting called for 4 p.m. By Tuesday morning, the full scope of TechFlow's problem was becoming clear. Their flagship product was built entirely on my algorithm. Without licensing rights, they had 2 choices: pay whatever Apex demanded or rebuild everything from scratch. Option 1 would kill their profit margins. Option 2 would take 3 to 4 years and cost tens of millions, assuming they could even recreate what I'd built. The best part? I was just getting started. Wednesday morning brought the news I'd been waiting for. Rodriguez texted me at 6:47 a.m. Cameron and Austin both gone. Board voted them out last night. New interim CEO started this morning. I was sipping coffee in my Denver hotel room, getting ready for my second day at Apex, when that message came through. 18 months of watching Cameron take credit for my work, 18 months of listening to Austin stumble through technical presentations he didn't understand, and it was over in 48 hours. The new interim CEO was Richard Walsh, some turnaround specialist they'd brought in from Dallas. Smart move by the board, bring in an outsider who wasn't attached to Cameron's ego or Austin's incompetence. By 9 a.m., Walsh had sent me a personal email that was refreshingly straightforward. Mr. Pierce, congratulations on your new position. I've been brought in to clean up the situation at TechFlow. I'd like to discuss fair licensing terms for your technology. We're prepared to acknowledge your contributions publicly and make appropriate compensation for previous oversights. Would you be available to meet next week? I forwarded the email to Patricia with a note. Phase 1 complete. They're ready to negotiate. Her reply came back instantly. Beautiful work. Legal team is preparing our terms. This is going to be expensive for them. The thing is, I wasn't trying to destroy TechFlow completely. Most of the employees there were good people just trying to do their jobs. But Cameron and Austin? They'd earned every bit of what was coming to them. By Thursday, the industry press was having a field day. TechCrunch ran a piece titled "How Patent Oversight Cost a CEO His Company." The Wall Street Journal did a deep dive on the hidden costs of ageism in tech. My favorite was Forbes, "Why You Should Never Fire the Person Who Built Your Core Technology." I started getting calls from other senior engineers who'd been pushed out of their companies, guys in their 50s and 60s who'd built entire platforms, only to watch younger executives take credit and then show them the door. Some were asking for advice, others wanted to share their own horror stories. It was like I'd accidentally started a movement. Patricia knocked on my office door Thursday afternoon with a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "Just got word from our legal team," she said, setting the glasses on my desk. TechFlow's licensing inquiry came in an hour ago. They're asking for standard industry rates. And our counteroffer? Triple the standard rate, plus public acknowledgement of your role as the algorithm's creator, plus a technology consulting agreement that puts you in direct contact with their development team. She poured the champagne with a grin. "Oh, and all licensing fees are retroactive to when they first implemented your original algorithm. That's 4 years of back payments." I did some quick math in my head. Triple rates on 4 years of usage, plus ongoing fees. We were talking about a number with 8 digits. "They'll never accept those terms," I said. "Then they can rebuild from scratch and watch their market share disappear," Patricia replied. "Either way, we win." Friday brought more good news. Rodriguez and 3 other guys from my old team had accepted offers and were starting Monday. The remaining 3 were finishing up projects but would join us within 2 weeks. Cameron's master plan to replace senior engineers with cheap college grads was falling apart spectacularly, but the real satisfaction came from watching TechFlow's customers start to panic. CryptoSafe managed over $2.8 billion in institutional crypto portfolios. When word got out that the core technology was in legal limbo, clients started asking hard questions about continuity and reliability. Wellington Capital, one of TechFlow's biggest clients, announced they were evaluating alternatives for their crypto trading platform. That was corporate speak for "we're jumping ship as soon as we find something better." 2 smaller investment firms followed suit by end of business Friday. The weekend gave me time to settle into Denver and start thinking beyond just revenge. Patricia and I spent Saturday morning walking through Apex's development labs, talking about how to integrate my enhanced algorithm into their existing products. The improvements I'd made weren't just incremental, they were revolutionary. Your risk assessment feature alone could change how the entire industry operates, Patricia said as we reviewed the technical specifications. Nobody else is even close to this level of predictive accuracy. That's because nobody else spent 3 years debugging edge cases that only show up during major market volatility, I replied. Cameron always wanted quick fixes and flashy demos. He never understood that real innovation takes time. Sunday evening, I got a call from Walsh at TechFlow. This time I answered. "Nathan, I know you're probably enjoying this, but we need to find a solution that works for everyone," he said. His voice was tired, like a guy who'd spent the weekend trying to save a sinking ship. "I'm listening," I replied. "The licensing terms your people sent over, they're pretty aggressive. Is there room for negotiation? That depends. Are you prepared to publicly acknowledge that I created the technology that built your company?" Long pause. "Yes, Cameron's ego isn't my problem. And the consulting agreement? I want direct input on how my technology gets implemented going forward. Also acceptable. But the financial terms need to be realistic. Those numbers would bankrupt us." I thought about that for a moment. Bankrupting TechFlow wouldn't help anyone, not the employees, not the clients, not the industry, and honestly, complete destruction had never been the goal. "Tell you what, Richard, set up a meeting for next week. Bring your CFO and your legal team. We'll work something out that keeps you solvent, but make sure this never happens again." I appreciate that, Nathan, really. Just remember, I'm not the guy who started this fight, but I'm definitely the guy who's going to finish it. Monday morning of week 2, I walked into Apex's main conference room for my first all-hands meeting as CTO. The energy was electric. Stock price up 34% since my arrival, 3 major client acquisitions in the pipeline, and a development roadmap that would put us years ahead of the competition. "The integration of Nathan's enhanced algorithm has exceeded every projection," Patricia announced to the assembled team. "Q1 revenue projections are up 67% based on early client feedback alone." After the meeting, Rodriguez cornered me in the hallway. "You know what the best part about this whole thing is?" he said. "What's that?" "Cameron spent 2 years telling everyone you were past your prime, that the company needed fresh perspectives and innovative thinking. Now his replacement is begging you to save the company you built." I laughed. "The irony's pretty sweet, isn't it?" "Sweet? Nathan, it's beautiful. Austin's resume is already on LinkedIn and Cameron's been blacklisted from every major VC firm in Texas. Meanwhile, you're running the technology division at their biggest competitor." That afternoon, I got confirmation that the TechFlow meeting was set for Thursday. Their team would fly to Denver, we'd hammer out licensing terms that didn't destroy them completely, and I'd finally get the public recognition I'd earned. But as I sat in my corner office, looking out at the Rocky Mountains and thinking about the journey that brought me here, I realized something important. This was never really about revenge. It was about respect, about proving that experience and innovation aren't mutually exclusive, about showing the tech industry that gray hair doesn't mean obsolete ideas. Sometimes the best way to prove your worth is to take it somewhere it's actually valued. Thursday's negotiation meeting was everything I'd hoped for and more. Richard Walsh flew in with TechFlow's CFO and their top lawyer, all of them looking like they'd aged 5 years in 2 weeks. We met in Apex's executive conference room, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Denver. "Before we start," Walsh said, setting down a folder thick with documents, "I want to personally apologize for how this situation was handled. Cameron's decisions don't reflect the company's values." "Appreciated," I replied. "But let's focus on moving forward." The final licensing agreement was fair but firm. TechFlow would pay 2.5 times standard industry rates, high enough to hurt but not enough to kill them. More importantly, they'd issue a public statement acknowledging my role as creator of the core technology, with my name prominently featured in all future marketing materials and technical documentation. The consulting agreement was the real win. For the next 3 years, any major updates to CryptoSafe would require my technical approval. No more random changes by executives who didn't understand the code. No more features added just because they sounded good in PowerPoint presentations. "There's one more thing," Walsh said as we wrapped up. "I'd like to offer you a position on our technical advisory board. Full compensation, equity package, the works." I glanced at Patricia, who gave me a slight nod. "Thanks, but I'm pretty happy where I am. Besides, you've got good people there who just need proper leadership. Rodriguez is ready for a senior architect role if you're smart enough to promote him." By the end of the meeting, we'd hammered out terms that would keep TechFlow alive while ensuring my work finally got proper recognition. Walsh seemed relieved. His CFO looked like he could finally sleep again, and their lawyer was already drafting press releases. 6 months later, I was sitting in that same conference room presenting Apex's quarterly results to our board of directors. The numbers were staggering. Revenue up 156% year over year, market capitalization increased by $847 million, and we'd captured 23% of the institutional crypto trading market. Nathan's enhanced algorithm has become the gold standard in predictive trading, Patricia announced to the board. We've got waiting lists for new client onboarding, and 3 major competitors have reached out about licensing agreements. The transformation had been remarkable. My team from TechFlow, all 7 guys who'd followed me to Denver, had integrated seamlessly with Apex's existing developers. Rodriguez was now Senior Director of AI Development, leading a team of 15 engineers on the next generation of trading algorithms. But the real satisfaction came from the industry recognition. In November, I was invited to keynote the National FinTech Innovation Summit, the same conference where Cameron had taken credit for my work 2 years earlier. This time, there was no confusion about who'd built what. Innovation doesn't come from youth alone, I told the audience of 200 technology leaders. It comes from the combination of experience, creativity, and the willingness to solve problems that matter. Age isn't a liability in tech. It's an asset when you know how to use it. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Afterward, at least 20 senior engineers approached me with their own stories about ageism and corporate politics. Some were looking for advice, others wanted to explore opportunities at Apex. A few just needed someone to tell them they weren't crazy for feeling undervalued. One conversation stuck with me. A 54-year-old woman named Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, who'd been pushed out of her CTO role at a San Francisco startup after 12 years of building their platform. Your story gave me the courage to file my own patent applications, she said. I've been documenting everything, building my own company on the side. When they try to push me out, I'll be ready. That's when I realized this had become bigger than just my personal vindication. Word was spreading through the industry about the importance of protecting intellectual property and documenting individual contributions. Senior engineers were becoming more strategic about their careers, more aware of their value. Meanwhile, TechFlow had stabilized under Walsh's leadership. They'd honored every term of our licensing agreement, issued public statements crediting my contributions, and implemented new policies to prevent future IP oversights. Rodriguez had been promoted to Chief Technology Officer, a role he'd earned through 15 years of solid work and technical excellence. Cameron Hayes had disappeared from the Austin tech scene entirely. Last I heard, he was working for some consulting firm in Dallas, trying to rebuild his reputation. Austin had taken a marketing job at his uncle's real estate company, apparently deciding that tech wasn't for him after all. The irony wasn't lost on me. They'd fired me to save money and bring in fresh talent, but ended up paying millions in licensing fees while losing their entire senior engineering staff. Their cost-cutting measure had become the most expensive decision in company history. A year after leaving TechFlow, I was featured on the cover of IEEE Spectrum magazine with the headline, "The Algorithm Revolution: How One Engineer Changed an Industry." The article detailed not just the technical innovations, but the broader implications for intellectual property protection and age discrimination in technology. Nathan Pierce's story has become a cautionary tale for corporate executives and an inspiration for senior technologists, the article concluded. In an industry obsessed with youth, he proved that experience and innovation go hand in hand. The best part, though, was a text I received from Rodriguez on the 1-year anniversary of my departure. Cameron's old office is now called the Nathan Pierce Innovation Lab. Walsh had a plaque installed and everything. Thought you'd get a kick out of that. I did get a kick out of it. But more than that, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction knowing that my 18 years at TechFlow hadn't been erased or forgotten. My contributions were finally being recognized, my innovations were being used responsibly, and my story had inspired other engineers to protect their own work. Looking back, getting fired was the best thing that ever happened to me. It forced me to stop being passive about my career and start taking control of my own narrative. It taught me that loyalty to a company means nothing if that company doesn't value what you bring to the table. Most importantly, it proved that you're never too old to reinvent yourself, as long as you're smart about how you do it. These days, I split my time between leading Apex's technology division and mentoring senior engineers who found themselves in similar situations. The message is always the same: document your work, protect your innovations, and never let anyone convince you that experience is a liability. Because in the end, algorithms don't care how old you are. They only care if you know how to make them work. And after 20 years in this business, I definitely know how to make them work.